Shavua Tov. What exactly are we doing when we are cleaning the house for Pesach? What are we looking for? How much do we need to check? What's necessary? What's unnecessary? This is really important to understand and can save us a lot of time and effort. So the Torah tells us very clearly in Parashat Bo that there are two prohibitions against owning Hametz over the course of Pesach. This is known as the prohibition of Bal Yera'eh or Bal Yimatzeh, which means even if a person doesn't consume Hametz during the course of Pesach, to own Hametz over the course of Pesach is a biblical prohibition. From the Torah's perspective, it would be sufficient for a person to nullify before Pesach and to abandon and give up ownership of any Hametz which a person owns. So from the Torah's perspective, a person has Hametz at home, he could say genuinely and sincerely, I give up ownership of these bottles of whiskey. And like this, a person from the Torah has not violated the prohibition of having Hametz, even though there is Hametz in his home and he can see the Hametz. Nonetheless, since he has been mevatel, he has abandoned ownership of it, from the Torah's perspective, that's no longer considered a prohibition of Hametz. The Chachamim, however, said that we need to check the house for Hametz and we need to get rid from our possessions any Hametz. And they gave two reasons are given for this. One reason is that we are concerned, the Chachamim, that a person will not genuinely abandon ownership of Hametz. If you have hundreds of pounds of the worth of bottles of whiskey, whatever it may be, and you say, yes, I'm giving up ownership of it and it no longer belongs to me, do you genuinely mean that? If someone was to come during the course of Pesach into your house, a non-Jewish person, and take these bottles, would you object to it? We suspect that perhaps a person would, and he's not genuinely abandoning ownership of it. Therefore, the Chachamim said, it's not enough just to nullify in your heart, you need to actually get rid of it, you need to do bi'ur, and destroy it from your possessions. Second reason given is that even if a person does genuinely nullify his ownership of it, we are concerned that during the course of Pesach he may forget and he may consume that Hametz. And therefore, the Chachamim said again, you have to get rid of the Hametz. So this means, from the Torah's perspective, it's sufficient just to nullify it. However, the Chachamim instituted getting rid of the Hametz from a person's possession, and therefore doing bidikat Hametz. You check the Hametz in order to get rid of it. And the reasons for this is either that he won't genuinely nullify it, or he may forget and end up eating it. Now, the question is, this is, as we've said, this is a rabbinic mitzvah to search for Hametz and get rid of it, and not just rely on nullification. The question is, what did the Chachamim institute? Is it, how much is a person looking for when he is looking for Hametz? So there is an opinion which says that you have to look for everything. Even crumbs you need to look for. Because, although you could argue that the first reason that you're not genuinely going to nullify it isn't applicable to some crumbs, but there is also the concern of eating it. You may end up eating it. However, many poskim disagree with this and say, look, even if you end up eating it, from the Torah's perspective, you only are punishable with the severe punishment of karet if a person eats a kazait of Hametz on Pesach, a certain amount which is more than a few crumbs. If a person was to eat a few crumbs on Pesach, although it's forbidden by the Torah, it doesn't carry the severity of the punishment of karet, which is spiritual death, unless a person eats a kazait. Therefore, it's not logical to say that the Chachamim instituted for you to look for the crumbs. Furthermore, are we genuinely concerned that a person may end up eating some crumbs, etc.? And therefore, many of the poskim are of the opinion that when the Chachamim instituted for us to look for Hametz, they instituted for us to look for a kazait of Hametz, to search the house for a kazait, which is a piece of Hametz, a piece of bread. A kazait is normally 27 grams or so. So it's something substantial which is lying around in the house, which you may come to consume over the course of Pesach. The Halacha, Chacham Ovadia and other poskim, many of the poskim say that the Halacha is that we are obligated only to get rid and search for a kazait of Hametz. And therefore, when cleaning the house for Pesach, one doesn't need to do a spring cleaning and get rid of all the crumbs in between things. That's unnecessary. What we are looking for is something which a person may be tempted to consume over the course of Pesach, which is why also even a piece of chametz, if it's inedible and it's not possible to be consumed, of course, that wouldn't need to do bidikah for. We're looking for things where a person may genuinely not nullify them in his heart, or may end up eating them over the course of Pesach. Beyond that, a person doesn't need to do bidikat chametz. So whilst it's wonderful if people want to spring clean their home, that's all nice, but that shouldn't be confused with cleaning the house for Pesach. Over the course of Pesach, over the course of the preparation for Pesach, when we're looking for chametz, we are looking for pieces of chametz. That's what we need to search for. That's what we need to get rid from our homes, and not more than that. Tomorrow we'll talk about where a person needs to check for chametz. Have a great day.